welcome back to our TONG channel here on YouTube. Today we're going to be talking about something that is very important. It's called closing the gap. And this is when you are in front of an adversary, you don't really have a way out, but you're trying to look for that way out. Sometimes you're going to have to neutralize your adversary temporarily to then find that escape route. And that's what we're going to be talking about. But before you do that, what we're going to be asking you to do right now is give us a thumbs up on this video. We really appreciate that. As well as, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to our channel. All right, everyone. Like I said, this one is really important. It's not talked about a lot. We call this closing the gap. And this is when you have yourself against another adversary. There could be more than one, but we have to focus on one to actually get the idea how to neutralize this person before we might have to go to a different opponent. So there's different kinds of techniques on this, and the first thing we need to work on is footwork. The footwork is very important, and there's different styles on closing the gap and how to defend ourselves, so that while I'm doing that, I'm looking for my way out, and it's usually cut off at angles. And this is normally when maybe my back's to a wall, or there is no way out. Maybe I got other opponents over here, his buddies are behind me, and this is the person I want to take care of, and then I want to go through him or escape to the side from him. So on this one, let's first talk about the footwork. In this situation, I know we're in a confrontation. He and I, ideally, there's different styles of closing the gap. What I want to do is make sure that at all cases, when I'm coming in, I want to neutralize his weapons, which would be his legs, his hands, whatever the case is like that. So there's different techniques on this one. One of my favorite ones when I close a gap is called foot trapping. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to step right here on his instep. And I've got, we're doing this barefoot today, so you can kind of see the footwork instead of the lack of contrast with black shoes or something like that. So on this one, I'm just stepping straight in. When that happens, the more than likely that happens is that he's going to be caught off guard, and he wants to then flee away. When he does that, if he starts to pull away, he's going to notice he's going to be stuck just for a temporary bit. I'm not going to stay here that much longer, because he's going to figure out if he can't get away, he's going to have to fight out of it. Okay? So the first one is I'm just going to figure out my distance, and I'm going to stride straight forward and close the gap. When I do this, my hands have to be up. The reason why is if I step straight in, my hands are down. That's right. He can take me out with a cross, a jab, or a number of things like this. Okay? Now, what you don't want to do is, even if I'm in a southpaw position, if I'm doing that foot trap right here, my hands come up. What I don't want to do is look down at his feet, because when I look down at his feet, he's going to think, uh-oh, I'm doing an attack down here. He's going to be ready for this. If you remember, there's a couple of videos that we talk about when we're working our opponent. We always want to watch the center line of his chest and shoulders. Try not to navigate our eyes up towards his eyes and stay there. Try not to look down, because again, that might be gauging downward. He may be, even though we're seeing a target, he's thinking this is where I'm going to go for. So I want to minimize that. Again, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight forward, and if you also notice, as I'm stepping on his foot, I'm trapping somehow this lead arm, because that is my danger zone right here. Usually this lead arm could be that right cross that he might be able to throw. But right here, if I can neutralize that just for a moment, and then do a counterattack after I neutralize his foot and his hand, just to counterattack and then get away. Usually I want to go towards his rear side, his back side, because that's his weak spot, and it's going to take him a little bit longer to turn around and see where I'm at. Okay, so if I'm in an orthodox stance, and on this, I'm going to step straight forward, and my hands are going to come up. I'm trapping that arm somehow, as well as I'm going to do that foot step, and then I'm going to come across and either counterattack and walk across, or just push him out of the way. I can also do this when I'm stepping in, my rear hand traps him, right like this. So I don't really have to do the foot trap. I like doing them because it does get them off guard a little bit. I can simply step straight in and close that gap right here. I don't even have to step on his foot. I just wanted to throw that out at you, the foot trap. It's really effective. Whether you're doing this on a street combat situation or even at a tournament, it'll really throw off your opponent in tournaments when you do those foot traps. So the backhand, the first one I did, the front hand traps that arm somehow because I want to neutralize. The only thing I have to worry about is that right cross. That right cross I can evade somehow, push into him, or step out of the way. If I step into him, I can trap this way with my rear arm coming in, and my front arm is guarding my face just in case that happens. I'm going to be ready to defend, kind of evade the situation. Okay. The next thing that we're going to talk about, it's another type of trap, but it's a hook. It's an ankle hook. So when I do this, as I step in, I cross over behind his foot and I turn my foot inward as deep as possible. So I want my leg to kind of go right up against his leg, almost shin to shin. Why don't we turn this way, sir, so they can see this. So if I'm right here, as I'm stepping in, right here. You might not be able to see it because of his pants, but that's the position you want right there. And there's a lot of things I can do from here. I'm shooting across, but this right here is going to be very sensitive because if he steps back, if he steps out of it, he's going to be off balance. My foot will kind of trip him just a little bit. Okay. Now he could step out in a way, and that could happen. But what I ideally want to do is I want to slide in. I'm going to hook the ankle. I got many different things I want to do to this guy so I can get out safely. I can either press my shin straight towards his leg. Watch what happens. Boom. And he's off balance and I step through. Okay? Or those of you who are my karate guys out there, you'll probably appreciate this. It's almost like a sweep. Okay? So I'm stepping in and then I hook the leg and I pull it out. Okay? So that's really a great technique on closing that gap. The other thing is if we're in a little bit further distance, closing the gap, I can't do this. I can't step on his foot. Look how far I have to go for my stride or hook his ankle. So I need to close the gap this way. I need to get his attention right here with my hands. Okay? So as I'm doing this, I'm sliding up to neutral and I'm coming right here, almost right into his face. I want to get his attention off of me and more like what is right into your face right now. So usually when that happens, as he starts to see something come up, his hands will probably want to deflect coming up like that. Now I'm opening up. Do you also see what I just did? As I close the gap, I could have done a foot trap, just slide straight into it on the side, or I could hook that ankle. Still works either way. Come this way. So one more time. So if we're at a bigger distance, we're in a bigger distance right here. I can't do this. I got to move up, so I'm going to have to distract him. That's that distraction right here. And if you notice what he did, this is normally what happens. His guard comes up. He wants to deflect. He doesn't know what's coming to his face. Now he's giving me a present. If I can take it, I'll take it. Okay? As I close the gap, I see that beautiful side kick that I want to do right into his ribs, and then walk out or continue after him as he's moving backward. Okay? I can also do this. I can also follow up with a rear hand right here, just like this, because I know what he's going to do. When you do this over and over again, I highly recommend you practice this with a partner. If you do this over and over again, it becomes second nature, and the patterns usually happen person by person. Okay, sometimes they're going to detect it on what you're doing, and it's usually because you're telegraphing it too much. The telegraphing means that you're telling them, here I come. They're going to see the punch. They're going to see the foot coming at them. You want to minimize that. It's called distraction. One more time. 3 things I want you to work on today. Okay? The foot trap. The foot trap, as I'm doing a foot trap, I'm jamming that front arm. Okay? The only thing I have to worry about is that backhand, but he's going to be kind of shocked by having his foot pinned. It's only going to be for a second before he figures out a way out of this. Okay? So this is just a distraction. The second one is if I'm coming in, I want to do the rear arm, and then what my counterattack from that point could be anything. Secondly, one more time, we're still at a decent distance from each other, not too far away. As I come in, I'm going to hook behind his ankle. And then my way out is either by pushing, by just simply leaning forward, my shin pushes against his shin, and I walk out, okay? Or I can retract that foot, keeping my foot towards his ankle, and it slides him out. And it's going to cause some significant damage if you do that really quickly. It could actually rip some muscles towards his hamstrings and inner thighs and so forth. So the last thing I want you to work on, okay, is from a distance. Too far to actually step on his foot, too far to hook that ankle. I need to close the gap. Again, do I have a way out? Yeah, right there, but maybe not to my backside. So right here, I want to distract him. Right here. Also, if you notice what I did, come over here, Merrick. If you notice what I did, okay, before he did not raise that guard. If he doesn't raise the guard, hit him. So that's going to be that distracting point, either neck, face, whatever, open target. But again, usually if he sees something coming up, he wants to defend himself. He wants to deflect that off, so he's going to raise that guard. And that's going to give me that open target that I want somehow. Could be my hand, could be my foot, whatever the technique. Okay? So again, this is about closing the gap. There's a lot of other techniques that deal with closing the gap. These are just a few that I want you guys to work on. Very effective. I've done them in tournaments. I've done them in street combat. I know they work. So, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to click on the subscribe button on the YouTube channel for more videos like this. And if you have any questions about our programs, please go to tonglo.com and click on Contact Us.